name's Alec, and I'm 12 years old. Books have taken me on adventures all over this world. Movies have shown me intense challenges that heroes face. My brother's video games have taught me that a gruesome death will come quickly if you're not paying attention. It's a wild world out there, and here in Texas, it gets even wilder. I'm going to experience, explore, thrive, and survive these wilder lands.
And you are coming with me.
It looks like I'm in a dried out riverbed. It's pretty chilly out right now. And I've got some extra supplies with me. It's scattered around. I've got a light jacket and a wetsuit, which is good for the water when it's chilly out. And I'm gonna go look for some water. But first I'm gonna check out my other supplies and see what I got over here. Okay, so the first thing I got right here is a map. This will come in really handy for getting around. And it's got all the elevation points. Over here, I got some adventure pants. So those will be good for keeping my legs warm. And it looks like they've got shin sleeves, so I can have fun with those. And over here, I've got a backpack, but it's not any old backpack. It's a camelback. And it's also called a hydration backpack. See, and here it holds the water in this little bladder right there. And then you can drink it out of right here. And it looks like it's pretty filled with water. Pretty good. And that fresh water is good to have. And got some water shoes. And some other stuff in here. Got some extra clothes, goggles. And then over here, I've got an extra shirt. Got some boots for hiking around. Okay, so the few last things now. I've got a belt, camo belt. And here I've got a really nice knife. This will come in handy. And it's got some attachments like a flint striker to help make fires. And the very last thing that I've got over here is a wooden spear, and this is good for hunting, like fishing, just stabbing different things, animals, for food. And that's all my supplies. Okay, so like out in this area right now during the winter, it's pretty cold, it's January. So layers are really important. I've got my shirt right here, and I'm gonna make sure that I have layers. Like I've still got my wetsuit on. I've got this shirt, just thinner shirt, long sleeve shirt, and the jacket. That's 3 layers alone. And then I've got my adventure pants, and they've got the shin sleeves, so I can use those for different things. It takes a lot to be adventurous. There we go. Okay, so last episode I talked about like tracking animals and sorts of stuff. But another cool way to track them and tell what's around is by finding bones. Now this looks like an armadillo. So here's the armadillo skeleton. It's not the entire armadillo, some pieces are missing, but this is more of where the upper area of the armadillo would be. Here's the spine, and then I could tell that it was an armadillo by this part right here. See, here's the shell, like the outer coating of the armadillo. It's shell to protect itself. It's got the same pattern and everything. And right here, you can see the claws. That's where the armadillo's hands are. and there's another hand right there. But yeah, it's just a cool thing to look out for animal bones if you're out and about. And I was just lucky enough to find an armadillo. So I've been hiking along, just gonna take a quick little break, but I want to introduce you to my survival spear slash pokey wacky, and its name is Trinity. Now, I use the stick for many different things, and I just poke around. Like, I can protect myself from the pokey bushes like this with my pokey whacker. And it's just a really cool thing to have. I can poke at things that I'm, like rocks that I'm not sure if they're unstable or not to step on. But this spear was given to me by a really good friend, and I call it Trinity. Now, before I talk about my map, I'm gonna talk about like the directions, like northeast, southwest. And based on the sun, like I just woke up and the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. So I know that that way is east. And it's not always like right on based on the winter solstice and the summer solstice. But the reason, like the way that I remember the different directions is like northeast, southwest, I remember never eat soggy worms. So you can try to remember that, and then you'll know that northeast, southwest, and if that's east, that way's north, that way's south, and that way's west. So now I'm gonna take a look at the map. So I'm gonna try and make it to the river, which is right here. And I know that I'm in this dry riverbed area, which is this lower area right here. And then, based on like how close these lines are, which is a really, really high elevation, I gotta figure out which way to turn the map. And I can see this really, really high wall behind me, so I know that it's not gonna go this way, but the map is gonna have to turn this way, so I'm gonna go east. Hiking through here hurts. So many spiky plants, everything's so dry. But to just show you how remote this land is, take a look at this. It's just mountains on all sides. There's plants everywhere too. So, on our tour of painful spiky plants, we've got this bush right here. Might not be able to see, but it's covered in little tiny thorns and they hurt very badly. Here's another example of just a really pokey plant. You can see this spike. It's about an inch long. That would hurt so bad if it poked you. And there's just so many plants to watch out for to make sure they don't poke you. Because some people can have like allergic reactions if they have poisons in them or anything, so you just gotta be careful. And now for the Q-tip. Okay, first up, the question, which is the Q, is if you're in the desert and it's about to get nighttime and all you've got on is a short sleeve shirt and a pair of jeans, what should you do to keep warm in the cold desert night? Should you, 1, put your hands in your armpits and curl up in a ball to conserve body heat? Should you, 2, jog in place to get your blood moving? Or should you, 3, forget it all and go take a pee? Now, we will be back with you in a little bit and tell you the answer. Ding! Okay, so right now I'm in the bottom of what used to be a river. It's just a dried up riverbed, and it's just a really cool area. You can see all the rock and sediment and the layers, and there's a couple little caverns. And at the bottom, some stagnant water has gathered up. You probably shouldn't drink it right out of the water, because you'll probably get really sick. And there's little minnows, not really any bigger fish. but this thing was probably a river thousands and thousands of years ago. It's just a really cool thing to see. Well, I found the water. This is Devil's River. And now that I found it, we're gonna go have some water fun. So here at Devil's River, it's got the cleanest water in Texas, and some of the cleanest in the entire country. It's also got very clear water. You can see to the bottom. It's got pretty deep water. And Devil's River is a very remote place, so not many people get to come here. It's also got very good fishing. And we're gonna work on some underwater stuff and some fishing in a little bit. But sometimes when you're fishing, you get snagged. And that's kind of what I did. So the first business order is to go and snag myself. Once I get my shoe on. Right now in Texas, it's winter time. So obviously it's cold. It's not as cold as up north, but it is cold. So I've got to wear a wetsuit so that I don't get hypothermia, because the water's colder than the air temperature, and I don't want to get too cold. Especially the deeper you go, the colder it gets. So that's why I'm wearing a wetsuit. It's so warm that I can't stand it. Oh my God. Dang it. It snapped. Okay. In the name of good footage, here we go! Okay, now I'm back on dry land, and boy was that some cold water. But I got my wetsuit off. If you don't have a wetsuit or something, make sure to take all your clothes off, so that because your clothes will get you really cold, and it's good to have dry clothes. Okay, now you've seen me use the do-rag before when I tie my shirt on my head to keep me cool. But since a lot of the body heat is in your head and it comes out of your head, then I'm gonna tie the do-rag to my head to try and keep the body heat in. And now we're gonna do some fishing. Now, here at Devil's River, of course, we've got super clear water, which means you can see all of the fish. I've seen tons of fish here. We've got an assortment of fish so far. I've only seen 3 types, but they're really good size. I've seen carp about 1 foot long, and they're bottom feeders, so you're gonna have to go on the bottom if you want to catch one. And then I've seen largemouth bass, and you can just use anything with like spinners on it, just anything shiny or fuzzy or something, and they'll go after that. Those you can eat, but I'll tell you why we aren't gonna in a little bit. And then my favorite fish that I've seen here so far is a gar. The exact type is a spotted gar, and they're really good size. They're about 2 feet long, about this big. And the cool thing about the spotted gar and all gar is that their mouths. The mouths are like these needle-nose pliers. They've got really long alligator, crocodile type like mouths, and they're full of razor-sharp teeth. So you got to be careful when you're getting those guys off the hook. And the reason that we aren't going to eat any of the fish today is that at Devil's River, there's a rule. The first rule is that you can't use live bait, so that's why I got my bucket of lures here. It's probably about 1/4 of my lures because I've got tons of lures. And then the other rule is that you can't eat any of the fish and you can't kill them. So that's why the fish have gotten so big, is that people aren't eating them. They're all at least 1 foot long. And I'm gonna go through my lures now. Now, I'm different. Most people don't name their lures, but I do. So I've got quite a few lures in here. I'll show you a couple of them. This one's name is Pugsley because he has a flat face right here like a pug. And the reason he's got this is because he's a floating lure, because this holds air inside of it so he can float on the water. And bass might go for that. And then I've got a little guy right here. His name is Billy. He's just a little normal lure. He just goes along in the center of the water, not the bottom, not the top, but the center. Right here, this is Bob. He's a very cute little lure. We got him from my grandpa. And this is Samuel. I've caught a largemouth bass on this guy before, but I'm gonna try use something else other than that. And then the lure that I will be using today, he is a pretty large lure. The largemouth bass will go after him, and his name is, I chose his name because of his huge eyes, and his name is Broxley. Get it? Because he's got big eyes. But he's a really sparkly one, and he's good for like clear water fishing because the fish can see him real good because the light reflects off of him. And I've got him on a normal barrel swivel, and I've got a snap-on weight right here. And today I'm gonna be using an open face reel. So I'll see what I can catch. Now, fishing is a really peaceful sport to do. It just takes a lot of patience, and it's quiet, relaxing. And while I'm out fishing, I usually just think about what other fish can be out there and different survival things. But it's really exciting when you get a fish on. All that's biting is the weeds. So, I've been fishing for a while, had no luck so far. I've tried all sorts of different types of bait, and according to the sun, don't have very many hours of daylight left. Once it goes behind that mountain, there's gonna be no more sun. And the temperature is gonna drop pretty low. So one thing I gotta make sure is that I have a place to stay tonight. So I'm gonna try to find some shelter, something. Due to all the mountain lion sightings in this area and
the number of black bears and the temperature that it gets down to at night, I'll be showing you where I will be staying, and that is the base camp. This is where my den is. Get it, Dennis? Dennis. And it's got a doormat, and it's just like a normal tent, and it's got rocks all around it because of the like high winds at night. It just gets super windy. So yeah, that's where my den is, and it's sort of a rectangular shape, and it works pretty good. Toodaloo. Now I will show you the proper way to prepare Spam. First you gotta take off the lid, and then you can use anything, sort of like a hammer or just your hand, hit it out onto the plate, and it should come out as one piece like that. And then what you're going to do next is you're going to have to cut the Spam. Now you want to have it just the right size, so that you don't want it too thin, otherwise it will burn, and you don't want it too thick, otherwise it won't cook in certain spots. Now this time I'm using Spam Light because Spam Heavy weighs down your pack, plus I need to watch my figure. Okay, now I'm getting it just the right size. And it cuts really easily. So after you've got your Spam properly cut, what you're gonna do is turn on the propane. And what you gotta do is turn the propane knob so that it goes on, and then it releases the propane. You can hear the propane coming out, and then you click the sparker, and then the flames come out. You need to get it at the right temperature so that it's not gonna burn it, and it won't take too long to cook. I'm gonna take the tongs. Fits pretty good. Now I'm gonna put it on the stove. And the reason that I'm not cooking next to my tent is because the bears and mountain lions and big animals and raccoons can smell after you cook, can smell the food even when it's all gone. And then they'll go to where they can smell the food at, and then they'll try to look for food. And if you happen to be where they smell it at, then they're gonna think, hey, I found a meal. And that's how you properly cook Spam. Now you can put it in a piece of bread if you want. I chose a hot dog bun. And if you want to get really wild, then you can put cheese on it. Spam-alicious. Well, that was actually a pleasant night's sleep. So, as I've been hiking around, I've seen a lot of this, and this is scat, also known as animal food. Now, I've seen lots of different types of it. I've seen, like, mountain lion, I've seen bear, I've seen deer, rabbit, all sorts of stuff. And this scat particularly looks like deer. Due to the size, I've ruled out elephants and bears. So that's just, like, something I wanted to show you. So you can watch out for that if you're hiking along. It's really cool to see. And now for the answer or the tip to the cue earlier. Now, the question was, if you're stranded in the desert and it's about to become nighttime, which is really cold in the desert, and all you've got is a short sleeve shirt on and a pair of jeans, what should you do to keep warm? Now I will talk about all of the answers that you could have chosen. Did you choose 1, which was to put your hands in your armpits and crouch down to conserve body heat? Well, that is a good answer, because the body heat in your underarms is where most of your body heat is, so that'll warm you up and keep you warm and toasty. And 2 is to jog in place. Now, that one is good to get your blood flowing, but if you do it too much, you'll start to sweat, and then the sweat will be cold on your body. Plus, you can dry out your throat or something, so you gotta be careful with that one. And the last one is forget it all and go take a pee. Now, actually, that one is a good answer, because when you go take a pee, when you have the urine inside your bladder, your body is using precious body heat in order to warm up that liquid. Now, after you pee, it'll start to warm up your body instead of warming up the liquid, since there's no longer any liquid. So the best answer is to jog to the bush that you're gonna pee on, take a pee, jog back, and then put your hands in your armpits,
Crouch down like this, and then you're good to go.
Here we go again. Cactus needle number, I don't know, I've lost count. This one's got some real grip on it. I don't know, it's a different type of cactus. Jeez, it's not coming out. I gotta pull it out and be a man. There we go. That one really hurt. Don't run into that cactus over there, you guys. That won't come out. But just looking around, I'm hiking, and I think that I saw a windmill farther back. So I'm gonna try to get to a higher elevation and see if I can spot that again. Now that I'm up on this rock, I'm at a higher elevation, and I can see the windmill. Well, that's my ticket out of here. You guys, that was Devil's River. The most remote place I've ever been. It's crazy. There's no one here that we ever see, and there's tons of big animals like mountain lions and bears, and it's 2 hours from the nearest town. You gotta drive on a 20-mile dirt road in order to get in here. It's right next to Mexico. And once you get in here, it's 20,000 acres. And it's a really beautiful place. Hope you guys get to go explore a place like this sometime and have your own adventure. Until next time, stay wild.